talking with this year's iPad App of the Year winners. This is MacVoices. Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by Coinbase. For a limited time, new users can get $10 in free Bitcoin when you sign up today at coinbase.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, today's going to be a bit of a fun interview because we're back with some old friends who have a very new, very terrific designation. So first, let's welcome Terri and Chris back from LumaFusion. Guys, welcome. It's great to see you both.
Great to see you, Chuck.
Hi, Chuck.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
So we're here to talk about not a new version of the app and not new features or anything like that. We're talking about you all being designated or receiving the Apple's iPad App of the Year award for 2021. Congratulations. This is fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's really exciting. Yeah.
yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, you both have that stunned look in your eyes. I mean, because first of all, when I saw this, it's like, well, of course, who deserves it more? Because you all have done such an amazing job. What were your reactions?
Well, I mean, I think, wow, without the platform that Apple has provided to us, I feel like, we should be very thankful for that, first of all. But also, there are an amazing number of great apps on iPad, and the fact that they picked a video editor, and on top of that, LumaFusion, it's really stunning and just a great feeling.
Yeah, I mean, when I always look back to when we started, and I think we had a really distinct vision of what the app was, but I always envisioned it as something fairly small, something we'd be doing with a small community of users, and it would be something nice and fun, and we would, do it almost as a side thing. And what it's become has become so much more than what we had envisioned in that sense. And it's a testament to everything we and the team have done. But it is just amazing to get that recognition, and that's really exciting for us.
Yeah, how many iPad apps are there? There's 2 million or something like that. It's just certainly there are other people who also deserve the honor, but we are so glad it's us.
Yeah, I love honesty, Terri. That's great. Yeah, and listen, I'm not just saying this because it's you two here, but in a way, it was no surprise to me. I also was a little surprised that they picked a video editing app, but on the other hand, what you all have done with LumaFusion is just staggering when it comes to the capabilities. And anybody that's listened to the interviews that we've done over the time period you've been working on this, you just keep adding more and more amazing capabilities to an app that runs on an iPad. It's not harnessing the power of the Mac, it's harnessing the power of the iPad and unleashing all that creativity in a whole different way.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's amazing to see what's come along and what we've been able to take advantage of. And I think that's really the synergy there, is that we were able to take advantage of what Apple provided. The latest example is ProRes. Apple adding that to its arsenal really opens up a whole new set of, capabilities for people to do complete workflows through LumaFusion that they might have been, reticent to try before because they didn't have that ProRes capability. And now we have it, and it's just there, and it runs beautifully. So, other than you need a heck of a lot more storage. So, but other than that, it's great.
Well, they did put the external storage first, and then ProRes. Yeah. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, Terri, I think if memory serves, you and I met at a Showstoppers event in Las Vegas for, I think it was NAB, wasn't that right?
Yep. Yeah.
And and then Chris, we met a little bit later. But yeah, that first interview I did with Terri, and folks, if you go back in the MacVoices archives, it's still there along with all the others. And just what you were doing even then was fascinating. And I know it made me want to go and play with it and see what I could do with it. And as time has passed, you've just increased and enhanced and, made it a very viable alternative to doing anything on the Mac.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, we take it seriously, and we don't treat the iPad like a toy, and so we push it to the limits, and then I take editing seriously. So the combination means we have something that's really very functional and full featured on the iPad. So yeah.
Well, I know when I first heard about video editing on the iPad, it's like, okay, that's great. It's going to be great for a rough cut, but I'm going to want to polish it off in Final Cut and, or do the rest of it there. And that's not the case with this now. LumaFusion lets me do everything that I want to do on the iPad. And now with the new enhancements to the iPad, I can plug in a keyboard, I can plug in a mouse, or pair of keyboard and mouse. Chris, just what you said, I've got plenty of external storage, which was always a concern if you're doing long form video. So there's so many things that have just, Apple has done a great job of bringing these enhancements to the iPad, but you two have done just a phenomenal job of taking advantage of every one of those opportunities as they came along, adding them in and making your program even more valuable.
Yeah, I think that is.
It's like Christmas. Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
No, you go ahead.
I was like, when every announcement they do is like Christmas for us, because we get right on the phone and like, okay, what can we do with this, and what does that mean for video editing, and how can there's features that come out that people don't even think about. They're just like, oh, now they have persistent clip IDs in iPhoto, and people are like, yeah, whatever. But for us, I'm like, oh my gosh, Chris, I think I called Chris and said, that means we can do, move just a project from device to device without the media, and it'll relink up to the iPhoto media, and he's like, yeah, we can make that happen. So it is like sort of a Christmas present every time they bring something out. With a little bit of thinking and planning, we can kind of get the most out of it. So I think, it's super fun.
Yeah, I think our biggest problem is it's too many Christmas presents. They often have so many features. We have to, pick and choose one or two, and it's like all the others are laying on the floor. I want to play with those, but we don't have time.
Like all the AI stuff and things that are going on there. We have
that'll all come, I'm sure. But it's really interesting to hear you two talk about those Christmas presents, if you will. Where other developers maybe overlook them or don't look at them as opportunities, and just, it's either one more thing I need to support, or I'll get around to it. You all have that enthusiasm to take advantage of them as quickly as possible. And, the fact is, I think it's really interesting, the fact that you see so many more opportunities with things you haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's loads to do. And now we have 18 people now, Chuck.
Wow.
We started out, Chris and I, and then quickly added Andrew to do testing back then. Now he's a support director. So he does actually QA and support. He leads all of that. But now to have 18 people, half developers working in Salt Lake and the surrounding areas, and then all the marketing, design, and testing over here in Seattle. And it's kind of evenly divided, so we kind of have two equal teams working.
Well, I know Luma had been shown or had been featured a couple times in some of the videos for some of the Apple events since the pandemic started. And, some of us, we knew your faces, and we recognized the interfaces that flashed by, because those are always very fast-paced videos. But just being included in those, maybe that was a portent of things to come. But, it was great to see you getting that recognition that was so well-deserved. And this, this just kind of tops it off.
Yeah. It's been a great year. Let's say that.
Yes. Some of those, like the keynote back in June was, for the M1 iPad Pro, and that was like getting to peek at the Christmas presents before Christmas. So we got to work a little ahead of time and get something done, and that was really exciting.
Yeah, I think with the pandemic, Chuck, when I said it's been a great year, I meant only in terms of LumaFusion and Luma Touch. It's been a horrible year. But I think what it's brought about is people are saying, hey, I've got I'm at home more than normal. I have years and years of video footage and stories I want to put together. And it really makes us feel like, wow, this is a pandemic. Not everything is for certain. People are getting lost that we really wish weren't getting lost. And it just, having a tool like LumaFusion that's affordable, easy to learn to use, just means that more people are doing that stuff. In fact, during the year of the pandemic, our daily active users of LumaFusion doubled. And it's almost, I feel bad about it, but it's almost like if the pandemic gets worse, sales go up. Honestly, that's the way it works. And it exactly 100% mirrors the coronavirus in reverse. Like, worse coronavirus, more LumaFusion. I think, and that's why we have stories to tell that are important stories, and they're not stories that you're going to have a professional tell. They're just your personal stories that you want to get out there.
Well, I take a couple things away from what you just said, Terri. That, to my way of thinking, first of all, that makes you two both very admirable role models in what can be done, even in the adverse circumstances. And the second one is just exactly what you were saying. More people are finding this and using this as a tool that is approachable and usable. And yeah, they have, sometimes they're tough stories to tell, but they're stories that they want to tell. And now they have a much more effective way to tell them. And in a lot of ways, that has to be a lot of comfort, especially if, we're dancing all around it, but let's face it, a lot of those stories have to do with losing people. And it's got to be both cathartic to create those videos and cathartic to, share those videos and not forget the people that have been lost. So it is kind of ironic that it's been so good for Luma. But on the other hand, it's great that you have been there to let people do that.
Yeah, and I think LumaFusion gives a real personal touch to that. In a video I did for a friend who passed away, it felt so nice to be able to sit there with all the video in the library and look through those wonderful moments, and actually just be able to sit there and work with other people to be able to put together something wonderful for that, and not be at a desktop stuck there. And so I think LumaFusion really fits that model of a very personal way of editing, in addition to all of its professional features.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did the same for my sister's father-in-law. When he passed, like, all the family just started putting their media on Dropbox, and it was so seamless just to collect the media, put it together for them in a really personalized way, and have a really quick turnaround, because these are not moments where you have a lot of time to think about it, really. Yeah, but that's in the worst case. LumaFusion is used for a lot of happy things too. So I don't want to make a downer here, but
no, but Terri, I don't think it is a downer. If you have, I've been through that, losing someone, senior members of our family, and I did not, at the time that happened, I did not have a tool like LumaFusion, but it is. I don't exactly, I forget exactly what word you used, Chris, but yeah, it is good to sit down with all those pictures. It makes the burden easier. Because you are inundated with all the good memories, as opposed to, the bad one that has just happened, and it makes you appreciate it a whole lot more. And I don't want to sound like I'm talking up LumaFusion too much, but on the other hand, yeah, I wish I had that kind of tool at that time to ease that process, because it was more.
There's something about editing in general, that you are honoring a subject, whatever that subject is. And I know that as a professional editor, but I have the skill and I've had years and years of using Final Cut and other professional editors. So I have that catharsis and that time to honor the subject. But having a tool that's easy to use and affordable for most people, means, people are enjoying a different kind of honoring of a subject, and a different kind of putting together their stories, that it does feel really genuine. It does feel very important when you're doing it. And that's just editing in general. But the fact is, now more people can enjoy that. So I'm really proud of that. I feel really passionate that we are out there able to let people from all different walks of life, from all different countries, just be able to tell their own personal stories, and that's really meaningful to me as a human being. So, yeah.
And the three of us have talked about how much more of a personal experience editing on the iPad is, editing by touch, as opposed to with a mouse or a trackpad or whatever. That you feel like you get up close and personal, or a bit more up close and personal with the subject, whatever the subject is, good, bad, or indifferent. And so that kind of falls right in line with what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I mean, I equate it to like if some people say, oh, I want to use a pencil with the iPad, but I'm like, I just so want to touch that stuff, because editing with a pencil is sort of like playing a piano with chopsticks or something. It's like separating me from the keys. So I'm just, I love touching the screen.
Chris, do you feel that way about the editing process?
Yeah, I absolutely. I'm not a great editor at all. I'm definitely, a part-time editor, but I really do love the feeling of touch. The moment when you press down and the clip moves up with your finger and you drag it where you want it, there is something very personal about that I like. And I have used all the editors as well. I was using Premiere back in the old days in the early 90s when I was doing a plugin for that. And, those type of tools are powerful, but they've always felt the same, and they felt a little disconnected. And so being connected to your media with LumaFusion has been a completely different feeling, and I love that.
Yeah, and you know what I like? I've been thinking about this lately. Most professional editors, when you open a panel to do your effects or whatever, you get a small panel that pops up, and it's kind of this looking at back and forth at things, and lots of little sliders and knobs and whatever. But I like more and more the way you just double tap on a clip in the LumaFusion timeline, and you have this whole world of possibilities. Like you have titling if it's the right kind of clip, or you have audio if the clip has audio. You have an audio editor, you have EQ, or you have color correction and effects, or you have this. It's like all these little worlds are opening up for you to dive into that single clip, and it allows you to really focus on that one thing that you're doing. And that's just like, it's a super fun experience. It's like I'm going to open this door and see what's in there. I'm going to do something in there and then open this door. It's really, I think that's fun. So fun.
And it's funny because it's one of those things that was born out of necessity. When we first were designing, we just didn't have the space to have little panels of tools on the side. So we decided, let's just open up to a separate editor. And it ended up being one of those things that became a key unique feature of LumaFusion. And I agree. I think it really lets you focus on that one thing that you're working on rather than having to always picture it in the bigger picture. And so, yeah, focus on that, then go back out to the bigger picture and see how it fits in. It's really nice.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because I hadn't thought about that from the creative standpoint, that if I'm going to do a transition between clips, yes, I open the transitions options and pick from that if I'm in Final Cut. But with Luma, you're right. You do click that, and all these things pop up, and it's like, well, hey, I don't need to do that. I could do that over there, and I've never done that before, and that may be just terrific, or it may be a big mistake. But I'm going to learn one way or the other, and enhance my.
And there's always undo.
And there's yes, exactly. So
yeah, and I think in the LumaFusion isn't done by any stretch of the imagination. Like in the future, we have things coming up that just bring it closer and closer to professional editing, in the sense of the things that you can do, not in the sense that it's going to get all complicated and a bunch of menus everywhere. But for instance, you can open when you're color correcting, you'll be able to open a scopes, waveform, vector, and histogram. And you can, when you're working in keyframing, you can have the curve of your motion. You can adjust that, or you can adjust the speed of your motion and how it comes to a stop or how it starts. So there's just all these little details that are going to make it just that much more fun and that much more powerful. So like the whole goal is to get, when I'm editing, I like to think that the editing should disappear. Like, I'm not one to cut on a beat. I would put the action on a beat rather than cut on a beat. And I try to make the cuts actually disappear so that the story can come out. And you can't do that if you're making a move on a title or something and it comes in linearly and it comes to a hard stop. Any of those things that shock your brain are going to make you go, oh, I'm watching something. I'm becoming conscious of the fact that I'm watching something on a video. And that's the one thing you don't want to do as an editor. You want to let your audience sink in to what you're telling them and get into the message, and never give them the opportunity to become aware that they're watching something. Because even in movies, the minute you become aware, wow, I'm sitting in this theater, you think, oh, wow, I've wasted an hour of my life sitting in this theater. I'm starting to feel antsy. But you want total immersion, and really good editing just gives you the opportunity to hide all the things that allow you to tell the story, how to move the story forward. Should be very seamless. In the event, you're telling a story that you want your reader or your viewer to stay in. Now, there's editing for the sake of editing, like in YouTube videos. A lot of times you want someone to be impressed with your editing. That's your main goal. And so you maybe want to show jump cuts and all these things that are going to get people that, well, that was cool editing. Then maybe there's no message. So, it's like different things. But I think having the tools to allow you to get that immersion is what I think is really important for editing. So anything that has to do with better color, so your brain isn't sort of like, oh, that doesn't look quite right, or that didn't match that shot. Anything like that is the important way for LumaFusion to go, so that we can, compete with systems that have all those features. So that's what we're up to over the coming time.
So things to look forward to. This edition of MacVoices is supported by Coinbase. For a limited time, new users can get $10 in free Bitcoin when you sign up today at coinbase.com/MacVoices. As we approach the end of the year, you are probably reviewing your financial portfolio. If you're looking for a way to level that portfolio up, you might be looking for new ways to diversify. Why not think about cryptocurrency? Backed by the world's leading investors, Coinbase keeps your portfolio safe and secure while adding crypto into your mix. They support the most popular digital currencies on the market and make them accessible to everyone. Plus, they offer portfolio management and protection, learning resources, and a mobile app so you can trade securely and monitor your crypto all in one place. And now, as a MacVoices listener or viewer, you can get a head start in your crypto journey. For a limited time, new users can get $10 in free Bitcoin when you sign up today at coinbase.com/MacVoices. Sign up at coinbase.com/MacVoices for $10 in free Bitcoin. This offer is for a limited time only, so be sure to sign up today. That's Coinbase, coinebase.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Coinbase for their support of MacVoices. I'm so glad that you used the example there of being taken out of the story in the movie theater, because I think we've all had that. Or we've had those experiences where suddenly it's 2 hours later and you want more. The movie's over and you still want more.
You're not ready to come out.
Yeah, and those are two very different experiences. And sometimes when we're having these discussions, I do get concerned that someone that is not that's thinking about getting into video but doesn't, starts to look at the three of us and say, it sounds like some kind of esoteric discipline where you have to go to Tibet to learn it. And it's like, no, that's not it. I mean, it's just, it is storytelling, plain and simple. And, you have more tools and you become a better storyteller. Like anything else, there's that dirty word called practice. There's nothing like practice.
It is true. But if you're telling a verbal story, you've all heard people telling a verbal story that have a language, problem, like by saying all the time or something like that. It takes you out of the verbal story they're telling, because once you start focusing on how many times they say or how many times they say some other, or whatever, it takes you out of the story. You can't be in the story anymore. And editing's just the same. It's just using your natural, like when I watch a video that one of our team edits, I'm watching for those moments that make me forget what they're trying to tell me and make me think about their editing. I was like, that's a problem then. So it's not hard. It's just paying attention, realizing that there is a way to keep people watching and that you can be aware of that, so that when you see a problem with it, you know, okay, something's not right here. I can go examine that closer. Was the cut too late? Was it too early? Was the color unexpected? Was the audio not the right level, or the quality of the audio, whatever it is? Lots of things can take you out of the story. So,
Chris, you're the kind of the more technical side, I think, of LumaFusion. So when Terri comes to you and tries to express some of the things she's just expressed here, do you kind of groan and say, "Oh my God, here she goes again," or do you say, "Yeah, I get it," and I need to work to try to bring those tools to the fore and give the editors the tools to stay in that flow state?
Well, I definitely bow to Terri's knowledge of editing for sure, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not an editor. And she's proven time and time again that, when she has an idea of how it should be done, she's usually right. Now, one of the nice things we have is a give and take where, she'll come with an idea and I may not even fully understand what she's, trying to say. And so we'll come back with an initial implementation from engineering, and it's halfway there, but not quite right, and so then we have a nice back and forth where we'll keep refining it until we get to what we're looking for. And once in a while, we'll get it entirely wrong the first try. And, we'll put something down in code and it'll be like, well, that sounded good on, when we were talking about it, but now that we're trying it, it's not. So, well, let's just start over and try a new path. And the nice thing is I think we're all very willing here to do that. And that's the important thing, is that we're not, so tight on a schedule. Oh, we've got to release this feature by this quarter to make this number. That's not how we work. So that we're very open to saying, okay, this isn't quite right. Let's go back to the drawing board and do it right, and then come out with something we really all love. And I think we're both very much in agreement on that part of it. And so that works.
And I think, yeah, absolutely. And I've worked at other places where it's always someone's fault when something doesn't work right the first time. I was like, well, Terri told me to do it that way, so I did it that way, and she was wrong. But we just don't do that because, our experience tells us you're lucky if you get it right the first time. And it takes a lot of getting feedback from actual people that are going to use your software to know for sure when you've gotten it right. So there's, for simple things, you can probably do a really good guess and do it right. But like when you get into something complex, like we're working on multicam, it's a really complex idea that you get lots of clips in a small interface, which is the iPad, or heaven knows what we'll do with the iPhone, but a small interface, lots of clips. They have to sync together by different methods, time code or audio or whatever. And then you have to be able to tap to cut and then create a thing. And that has to be able to go on any timeline. So there's like this complex process. How can we bring that down? Are we going to get that right on the first try? No, there's not a chance. There's too many variables to get it right on the first try. But what we do know is that we try our hardest, and then we try again and try again, and we don't release things that we know are wrong. Like we just say it's not right yet. So yes, people might say, well, you said it was going to be out here. So we stop saying actually when things are going to be out, because we just know we don't want to put out something that's not right. That it's heartbreaking and not very fun. So yeah.
Well, we've so often we've used the example of, the cake has to bake in the oven, until it's done. You can pull it out halfway through and it's going to be terrible. So, I'd much rather have you take an extra week, month, 3 months, 6 months, and have the feature work than to bring it out. Because unfortunately, if you bring out a feature and it doesn't work, then I may stop. I don't know if I'll stop using the program, but I'll stop thinking about being able to use that feature. And that's never a good thing.
Yeah, it's hard to trust something that wrongs you the first time, right?
Chris, I'm sorry. I think I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I think I've actually lost my point. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to give us just a little peek behind the curtain here as to how this happens. I mean, did one or both of you get a phone call from Tim Cook, or did you get an email, or how did you receive any advance notification of the award? How does that happen, or are you allowed to say?
Yeah, I mean, they asked us to prepare for something that they didn't tell us what it was, but they said, we want you to prepare to be able to talk to, I don't even know if they said it was press. They just said, we need, a script that you would say, and here's the point, we want to know how, what your year has been like, how has the pandemic changed your business, and a number of questions you answer in the script. Okay, we'll do that. Apple asks, you do it, right? And then I'll go get the award. Chris, you can continue the story.
So this started a month before we received it, and they just said, we have a press opportunity for you. They don't say what it is, but 2 weeks before the release, they said you're going to be receiving something, and so Terri received this at her office with a personal hand delivered from an Apple employee, and it was in a box. It said, "Do not open until further notice." And
I still have the box.
And that's when they had us get on a Zoom call with the other award winners in the app categories. And then we were actually surprised by Tim Cook coming on the call, and we all got a chance to talk with him about our apps. And he, had a nice something to say about each of the apps, and we got to talk to him a little bit about it, and that was incredibly exciting.
That was shocking. Cool. We didn't expect him to show up, so I didn't prepare. Had someone even given me 15 minutes and said, you're going to be able to talk to Tim Cook today, what will you say? I would have thought of something. I would have thought deeply about what I wanted to say to Tim Cook, right? But it was like, here he is. I was like, oh hi. This is surprising. I don't know what I said.
Well, the rest of us just obviously find out about these things through press releases or something popping up on the App Store or whatever. So, you always wonder just what the experience is like for the award winners. So that is great. I love though that they end up and send you a box but don't open it until further notice. It's like, okay,
yeah,
so what?
It was hand delivered. She showed up, and then she said, "Congratulations," and I said, I don't know what's in the box, but thank you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but on the back it says, so I should see if I can show it to you. Oh, there we are. So it says,
iPad App of the Year.
App of the Year, LumaFusion 2021. That's super heavy. This is like a solid block of something. Aluminum, probably.
Yeah, it's aluminum.
That is so. It's been a true pleasure for me to get to know both of you, to get to know the app. To think back at least where my story started with you two and what you were doing then. And frankly, Terri, I'm glad you said that because I didn't realize you'd grown to 18 people.
Yeah,
it hasn't been that long. I mean, it's been a few years, but it hasn't been that long, and that's quite a growth from just a 2-person shop to a full staff.
Was that in 2018, maybe? Was that our first NAB?
I think it would. Yeah, it would have been 18. Yeah, maybe 17, but I think it was 18. Yeah,
I'd have to go back and look, but yeah. So that's phenomenal. I do have to ask, sort of along the lines of one of the questions I guess Apple asked you to address. I mean, how have you expanded during the pandemic? Have you expanded your base, or has it stayed steady?
Yeah, so we had, it has expanded. Our customers grew. Our team has grown. We've hired a number of people during the pandemic, and that's both exciting and challenging. I realize I'm not, as good as I thought I was at communicating over Zoom calls, and so I've had to adapt there. But that's what we all are doing, is adapting and figuring out ways to make it work, with what we have, and that's been exciting.
I mean, we've had not very many, but a few times when we've met as a team and played a game like Among Us or something. I think we're going to do that again coming up this week, possibly. Yeah, and that is like a moment to bring our team together, and we just have food delivered to every person's house and like play a game together and laugh, and it's fun.
Yeah.
But there's people on our team I haven't met for sure. So
Yeah, but that's, I mean, first of all, that's sort of the nature now of the distributed work models, and also especially of the pandemic. That we're all trying to figure out how to do this, and oh boy, some are figuring it out easier than others, and some are never going to figure it out, and some just insist on going back to the way it used to be, which is probably the most naive thing you could possibly do, at least in my opinion. We'd all like to take a lot of the great things from the past, but it may be a while before we can do that. So,
I think some things have changed for good, and I think there's a balance between the two that should be a nice thing to find. There's certainly going to be, in our business, will be continued flexibility for people to work from different locations and places that isn't going to change now, that I wouldn't have envisioned a few years ago. It's luckily we're in a luckily software is something you can do that with pretty well, and that does make it easier.
Yeah,
I just hope we run out of Greek alphabet letters soon.
I hope that ends quickly.
Yeah, that might be nice if that's the end of it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't think we can count on it, but I'm hopeful of something. Yeah. Hopefully it'll get progressively better anyway.
Well, we can all hope so. Hope so. So we want to let folks know where they can go to learn all about LumaFusion and what it can do. And that would be, would guess the website would be the first place to start. And that website is
www.lumatouch.com. And actually, if you really want to learn and you want someone to be there live with you to answer questions or talk about your specific workflow, we do have Luma Touch Academy now, which has 3 trainers, Glenn Mulcahy, Carolyn Scott, and Courtney Jones, of 3 different disciplines. Glenn is Mojo, or mobile journalism. Carolyn is she's social media guru, and then Courtney Jones is filmmaker, and they have these 2-hour courses online that you can sign up for.
Excellent. And that's, of course, all at LumaTouch.com.
Yeah. Yep. That's right.
Guys, thank you so much. It's great to see you. I was most anxious to get on here and hear some of the stories and all, but bottom line is congratulations. It is so well deserved.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Chuck, and thanks for being there to highlight us every now and then and talk to us, and it's been great.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. I hope you both, well, I know you're going to have a terrific holiday because you've got that big blue thing sitting there. So the holiday season is going to be really good, but I hope you have a great holiday with both of your families as well.
You too.
Thank you. It's too heavy to put on top of my tree, though. I'm going to say it's not going to fit.
Well, just take a picture of it, Terry, and get printed out nice, and then put that on top of the tree there.
That's right.
Good idea.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. We're having way too much fun here. Go check out LumaFusion if you haven't before, and don't be intimidated by the fact that we keep using that word professional, because this is a very, very accessible tool that you can start simply with, and it gives you plenty of room to grow and do your projects, whether they're good. I don't even know what the phrase is, but whether they're positive or negative, it's going to end up being net positive for you. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.